Hi, I'm Amanda and welcome to All Access Eats. Some of you may already know me as an actress, a filmmaker, and the daughter of Meatloaf, but what you might not know about me is that I have a passion for cooking, and I especially love cooking for my friends and family. I grew up traveling the world with my dad on tour, and some of my earliest family meal memories come from those that we had backstage with Dad's band and crew. And some of my earliest culinary experiences come from learning to cook those comfort foods from chefs all across the world. So I'm here to share some of those recipes and some of those tour stories with all of you. Today, I'm gonna show you how to cook one of my favorite comfort food dishes growing up. It's sort of a twist on Julia Child's Chicken Archduc, but we've tweaked it just a little bit. So let's get started. So I've already preheated my pan with about a tablespoon of olive oil. And the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and put these. All right, so now that our chicken is nicely browned on both sides, you can see here, we're gonna just take the chicken out and we're gonna set this aside for later. Gorgeous. Next, I'm gonna take 2 whole onions, and I know it's a lot of onions, but this is the whole base of our sauce. We're gonna take 2 whole onions, thinly sliced, and we're gonna go ahead and add those to our pot here, along with a healthy amount of salt. There's a lot of onion right now, but this is going to cook way down. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon of unsalted butter. Just get all those onions coated nicely in butter. So I did say that this is a childhood favorite of mine. I learned this twist for Chicken Archduc when we were on tour in England around 93, I think it was. And you might say that Chicken Archduc is not exactly like, oh, a kid-friendly recipe, quote unquote. Well, growing up on tour, unlike a lot of kids, you don't really get the option of being a picky eater. Just what's available in catering is what's available in catering. Sometimes, you know, you might get a nice chef that knows you're coming and they might make you some macaroni and cheese or something that's a little more kid-friendly. But for the most part, you eat what is there. And so this is one of my favorites because as we cook the onions down, they're gonna become really, really nice and sweet. We're not looking for a full caramelization like you're used to on, say, you know, your burgers, but we do want them to be translucent and definitely cooked. So we're gonna get that sweetness out of them. So we're gonna go ahead and let these cook for a few minutes and we'll be right back. Now our onions have reached the point where they're just past translucent, but not quite starting to caramelize just yet. It is perfect. You can smell, they're smelling really nice and sweet. Some of them are turning just a little bit brown, but again, we're not fully at caramelization yet. And this is exactly where you want your onions to be. Oh, that smells good. All right. So next, I'm going to add, and this is where I veer from Julia Child. As I said last week, we love garlic in this house. So in goes about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Garlic is something that's to taste. Next, I'm going to add half a tablespoon of paprika. This is gonna give it just a bit of smokiness and also a pretty color. See, it's prettier already. Next, we are going to get into some lemons. So I've got 3 lemons here. The first lemon that we are gonna use is strictly for the juice. Mix. So gonna go ahead and squeeze the juice of one whole lemon right on in there. All right, that's the first half. Go for number 2. Beautiful. Nice juicy lemons. All right. And then we're gonna add about half a cup to 1 cup of chicken broth, because we want this to be a sauce, but we don't want it to be a soup, right? So we want to cover the onions nicely. Yeah, so that was about 3/4 of a cup. And we're gonna wait for this to come up to a boil. So now that the onion, garlic, chicken broth, paprika mixture has come to a nice little simmer, we're gonna go ahead and add the chicken breasts back in. Now we're gonna add just some pepper to taste. I don't know, probably about half a teaspoon. No rules, right? We just want things that taste good to us. Now we are gonna lay these lemon slices right on top of our chicken breasts. Beautiful, look at that. We're gonna go ahead and cover this up, and we're gonna let it simmer for about 10 minutes and come right back to it. So now that this has had a chance to sit and simmer and all the juices have been coming together, let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Yeah, that is looking beautiful. So next, and if you're non-dairy, again, you do not have to do this. I like to make the sauce just a little bit creamy, which is following with Miss Julia Childs. So we're gonna add just a little bit of whole milk. Get that through there. It's about 1/4 of a cup of whole milk. And we're gonna turn the heat down because we do not wanna boil the milk. We just want it to be in there to sort of add to the richness. Just get it a little bit creamy. Yeah. That's looking really good. And then I have one final step. And this is where we veer from Miss Julia Childs. So if you've ever spent a lot of time in England, you know that they adore their cucumbers. And growing up there, I have come to have a love of cucumbers. And I love pickles, I love fresh cucumbers, I love growing cucumbers, all of it. So I have some peeled and diced cucumbers, and I'm just gonna add these in right on top of everything else. So we're gonna go ahead and put the lid back on, low heat, just for like 5 minutes or so, and then it's gonna be ready to eat. Nice, look. Super tender, super moist chicken. Gorgeous. These onions, not quite caramelized, just tender enough. Let's take a bite. Oh, I'm so excited. This smells amazing. I think it looks beautiful. This chicken is still nice and crispy on the outside, tender, juicy on the inside. I've got sweetness from the onions, from the garlic, a little bit of that smoky from the paprika, and these cucumbers they just kind of cleanse the palate, and they add a nice little crunch to it, I guess. If you've never had a dish like this, give it a shot. I think that you'll really love it. I think it's always a hit at dinner parties for me. Cook it for your friends, cook it for your family. Here's a little tip. Kids don't want to eat the cucumbers and the onions. That's cool. Look, you don't have to, that's for mom and dad. The chicken by itself, that's for the kids. You can serve this over rice. You can serve it with pasta. It's really good with just some easy, simple asparagus. It's a really great, comforting, warm your belly dish. Thank you so much for watching this episode of All Access Eats. Please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and tune in next time for more stories and recipes from the road.